I'll start off with a quick introduction about myself. I am Nivedan Rathi, and I run a startup by the name Future and AI. जिसमें I make a lot of educational content around AI. इससे पहले I used to make a lot of content around startups. I have in this meantime worked with a lot of early stage companies. I founded some technology companies before, and one of the products that I built was an AI product itself, जहाँ पे हम computer vision की मदद से agricultural procurement की problem को solve करते हैं. And we started with the world's biggest potato processor company, which is called McCain. नाम सुना होगा और Nugget Fragget आया जरा. So we used to work with the CEO of McCain to solve their plant के procurement related problems using computer vision. ताकि वो जो चीज़ें scale पे कर रहे हैं उसमें जितने भी manual steps हैं, whatever was possible to automate without human intervention, we could solve that using simply a basic Android phone, take a few photographs, our server would process it, and then they would give you back the results. So this is something we did. We raised $500,000 also in that and grew it to an extent. Then worked on a fintech product, on a e-commerce product. And the last company I was with, आज से 3 या 4 साल पहले, was Meesho. आप सबने सुन लिया होगा नाम Meesho का. ऑर्डर करते हो कोई? अच्छा इतना पॉपुलर हो गया क्या Meesho? ऐसा है क्या? Okay. Even I didn't know it, मुझे टाइम हो गया Meesho छोड़ेगा 3 साल हो गया. तो I used to lead the business and marketing teams at Meesho. मतलब मैं तुम्हें डिस्काउंट कोड तो नहीं दे पाऊंगा. अभी टाइप हो गया है, पुराना आदमी हो गया हूँ मैं, लेकिन I will today try and talk about 2 different topics, and maybe if we have time, because we have a limited time right now. I hope we have 45 minutes from now, है ना? तो ये someone will need to give me an indicator about time with it. किसी को तो आराम से 40 यानी सामने दिखाना पड़ेगा मुझे. ऐसा नहीं हो जाए कि हम फ्लो में आके ना वैसे उसको प्लीज यार थोड़ी देर वापस वो स्टॉप वॉच इधर स्टार्ट करना सकते से यार. So we will talk about a few topics here. One is some of the challenges of early stage startups. Basically जब आप एक आइडिया लेके आते हो तो फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल वो आइडिया के बाद क्या करना होता है इमीडिएटली. चीज़ें तो ऑब्वियस है, हमें पता होता है कि अगर मतलब फॉर एग्जाम्पल प्रोडक्ट बनाएंगे, एमपीपी बनाएंगे. आजकल एमपीपी को ढूंढने होती है, जानते हैं फर्स्ट ईयर वाले जाते हो अभी तक. बट तो ठीक है, आई रिमेंबर दैट आई हैव टू यूज लेट्स से जार्गन दैट किसी को नहीं समझा तो प्लीज रोक देना. एक्सीडेंटली वो जार्गन बोल के निकल जाऊंगा तो ऐसे में सोचना कि यार उन्होंने कुछ तो बोल दिया, रोक लेना मुझे, मैं समझा दूंगा. ठीक है. सो व्हाट विल टॉक अबाउट दिस अर्ली स्टेज में जब आपके पास कोई आइडिया होता है तो व्हाट विल यू डू, हाउ डू यू स्ट्रक्चर एंड सॉल्व प्रॉब्लम्स फॉर द इनिशियल डेज इज व्हाट आई हैव डन अ लॉट. एंड आई हैव सॉल्व्ड दोस प्रॉब्लम्स सो मेनी टाइम्स नाउ दैट आई हैव काइंड ऑफ बिल्ट फ्रेमवर्क्स अराउंड कि what are the mental frameworks की प्लीज उनको ब्रेक डाउन करके कैसे सॉल्व करते हैं स्पेशली इन अर्ली स्टेज कॉन्टेक्स्ट. एक हम ये बात करेंगे. सेकेंड चीज जो हम बात करेंगे इफ वी हैव टाइम इज सिंस आई टेक अ लॉट ऑफ सेमिनार्स ऑन एआई. ईट बंद करना यार मतलब so we will talk about not we don't have the time to talk about AI a lot, but I do a lot of these webinars जहाँ पे webinars, seminars, conferences जो भी where I talk about कि कैसे like in what way can you use generative AI in the best ability so that you can for your respective use cases, careers maximize the benefit from it. Okay, so उसका मैं सारा टॉपिक नहीं कवर कर पाऊंगा, बट तुम्हें कहना बहुत तगड़ा हैक दे दूंगा जिसको यूज करके यू कैन स्टार्ट लिटरली बिकम सेमी प्रो प्रॉम्प्ट इंजीनियर फ्रॉम टुडे. और प्रो तुम्हारे हाथ में, पर सेमी प्रो की गारंटी भी दे सकता हूँ. दैट फ्रेमवर्क इज प्रीटी स्ट्रेट फॉरवर्ड, सिंपल, बट मोस्ट पीपल आर नॉट रियलाइजिंग कि एआई की पावर कितनी है. लाइक आई यूज एआई डे आउट अ लॉट. So to the point that, and 2 of my team members are also here. So we are kind of automating a lot of our business through AI. And the way to do it is only possible if you understand your business with a lot of depth, which most people do on their own businesses. But beyond that, you need to be able to articulate that problem statement for AI in a certain way so that you can get a high quality response. So uske liye I can give you this hack. We cover that in the end. वो probably 5 से 10 minute का conversation होगा. But let's get it to the early stage वाला thing. Sound good? मैम आप डिस्टर्ब हो रहे हैं क्या सीरियस से? पक्का? फिर आप नहीं प्लीज. ओके, सो आई थॉट कि आप लोग यहाँ पे कॉन्वर्सेशन कर रहे हैं. So okay. So कितने लोग यहाँ पे now let me just get a sense of who has heard of a business model here. सबने business model सुना है? Lean canvas या lean startup के बारे में किसी ने सुना है यहाँ पे? हाँ, so there is a certain philosophy in starting new businesses which had become popular back then in 2010 by this guy called Neer. Eric Ries. So Eric Ries करके उसने this guy had been a Silicon Valley entrepreneur and he consults a lot of Silicon Valley entrepreneurs for their business models. So this is one thing I usually recommend at the beginning of my conversation, that for all of us, whoever is interested in startups, please do yourself a service. Read this particular book or watch the videos if you're lazy for it. Videos देख के भी शायद समझ में आ जाएगा, but book देख के तो best है. So write down this book का नाम. It's called Lean Startup. That's it. And it proposes a more advanced version of business model. Canvas जो होता है, वो canvas is unfortunately not useful for most innovative business models. ठीक है? It is great, it works, but it is for usually bigger companies which already have a presence and जिनकी बहुत सारी प्रॉब्लम सॉल्व है, B1 से नहीं कर रहे हैं, उनके लिए बिजनेस मॉडल कैनवस मेक सेंस. अब लीन स्टार्टअप कैनवस के बारे में थोड़ी सी बात करेंगे. Before that, let's start with the definition of what startups are. So businesses and startups. Let's say, how would you differentiate a new business from a startup? Is it the same? Is it different? Do you want to try a definition of it?
No. Startup is problem solver. Business will be solved in minutes or weeks.
ठीक है. कुछ innovative? Anything else? Startup business अलग क्यों होगा?
This is a setup.
ठीक है. Startups बहुत हम पैसे से चालू करते हैं, business पैसे से चालू करते हैं. मेरी
Startup with problem solver. Going up here.
मेरी प्रॉब्लम नहीं सॉल्व करेगा.
This is
That setup start करें your business.
न्यू बिजनेस बोल रहा हूँ मैं. न्यू बिजनेस भी स्क्रैच से चालू हो रहा है और स्टार्टअप भी स्क्रैच से चालू हो रहा है. कुछ तो डिफरेंस है. So I define this. This is very important because हम लोग startup word बहुत casually throw around करते हैं. Now the most usually agreed upon definition of startup is that it is a type of business, yes, where like literally dictionary से अगर define करेंगे, तो it would be a group of people who are trying to solve a problem when their target audience is not clearly defined, when the solution is kind of unknown, when the uncertainty and risk of whether the problem I'm working on is real or not is also a problem, right? That is what a startup is. So the startup is usually different from a new business, by the way. मैं कल एक किराने की दुकान लगा सकता हूँ. Does that make the startup थोड़ा comfortable लगेगा तुम्हें कि की दुकान तो है, तो नया उन्हें भी स्टार्टअप बोल सकता हूँ मैं. Let's say मैं लॉयर हूँ और मैं अपनी प्रैक्टिस चालू करता हूँ कल, तो will that be a startup? ट्रिकी है, राइट? एक सीए बोल रहा है मैंने स्टार्टअप किया, तो उनको क्या, मैं सीए कंसल्टिंग देता हूँ, राइट? सो दीज आर बिजनेसेस, दीज आर लेजिट प्रोफेशनल बिजनेसेस, बट that doesn't make them startup because for them the target audience is लोग. किराने वाले को पता है कि मेरे से ग्रोसरी लेने आएंगे, भूख लगती है, किसी को नहाना है, साबुन बेचनी है, शैम्पू लगाना ही है, राइट? तो इट्स नोन कि मार्केट में ये प्रोडक्ट्स कंज्यूम होते हैं. देयर इज नो अनसर्टन, राइट? कौन लोग लेंगे? मेरे आसपास की कॉलोनी वाली लेंगे, इसमें भी कोई अनसर्टेनिटी नहीं है, राइट? क्या कभी सडनली ऐसा तो नहीं ऐसा होगा कि एफएमसीजी मार्केट गायब हो जाए सडनली शर्त से? देयर इज नो अनसर्टेनिटी ऑफ द मार्केट आल्सो. देयर इज नो अनसर्टेनिटी प्रैक्टिकली. नाउ इट्स अ स्पेक्ट्रम. सम बिजनेसेस लाइक जैसे थोड़ी और अनसर्टेनिटी होगी कि देखिए व्हेन यू स्टार्ट अ स्टार्टअप, जैसे तुमने बोला कि कार वॉशिंग सर्विस का ऑर्गेनाइज्ड वर्जन लाना चाहते हो, तो राइट, अब दिस कुड बी अ स्टार्टअप बिकॉज इनको करते वक्त रियलाइज होगा कि यार शायद जैसे तुम्हारे सामने चैलेंजेस क्या आएंगे, मे बी एक अनऑर्गेनाइज मार्केट से मेरे को 100 रुपये में या 50 रुपये में एक दिन का मेरे को लेट्स से कार वॉशिंग सर्विस का बेनिफिट मिलता है, राइट? एंड तुम आते हो तो नहीं सर हम और अच्छे साफ करेंगे, हमारी साबुन स्पेशल तरह की होगी जिससे है ना पेट खराब नहीं होगा, आपके विंडशील्ड वगैरह जो भी है वो उस पर स्क्रैच नहीं होगा, तो हम इसलिए सर 250 रुपये लेते हैं. अब तुम चीज़ तो अच्छी दे रहे हो, लेकिन सामने वाले कहता है यार सुन मेरे को इतनी भी वैल्यू नहीं है मेरी गाड़ी की सफाई की, मैं 250 रुपये दे दूँ. सो दिस अनसर्टेनिटी that by organizing this market, if you drive up the prices, if you think कि high quality services की बहुत value है, right? तो you are making an assumption because nobody knows घर जाके कोई 250 रुपए की सर्विस नहीं दे रहा. Example ले रहा हूँ. Not saying you guys are doing that. So that is what could make them a startup because they don't know कि उनकी prices क्या जाने वाली है cost के अंदर. किराने में पता है मुझे 1 रुपए का मार्जिन लेना है, 4% का मार्जिन लेना है. These are all known facts. You can still feel as a kirana guy. Doesn't mean yani you can probably start in a colony where everyone is just about to leave. Right? कोई दादा में किसी ने बेचारे ने मेरा भी कोई खुला होगा नॉर्थ में खुला होगा सब साउथ में है उसका तो रिस्क था ना सो दैट वे वी हैव रिस्क बट द रिस्क इन योर केस इज हायर द रिस्क इन योर केस इज हायर यू डोंट नो इफ टेक्नोलॉजिकली तुम इतना अच्छा बना पाओगे यू डोंट नो दैट यू आर क्लेमिंग इट इफ समवन बिलीव्स यू दे विल गिव यू द बिजनेस दे डोंट बिलीव यू इट्स ओवर राइट इन टर्म्स ऑफ फंड एट लीस्ट सो दैट इज व्हाट स्टार्टअप इज ये क्लियर है So which means by definition any startup has to optimize for reduction of risk or elimination of risk as they go forward. क्योंकि वही उनका काम है. So हम लोग कहते हैं ना कि जैसे founders का like entrepreneurs are very risk taking. So इसका एक opposite take है कि entrepreneurs are the most risk averse people. वो बहुत high risk ले लेते हैं फिर उसके बाद बार risk से बचने की कोशिश करते हैं. Like they're eliminating every risk one after the other. So then तुम्हारे केस में प्राइसिंग रिस्क है. एक रिस्क है कि तुम्हारे जो केमिकल्स है वो आई डोंट नो उस पर कंट्रोल तुम कर भी हो 1000 लोग घूम रहे हैं तुम्हारे सिटी में जो वॉश कर रहे हैं और वो देसी केमिकल मिलाने लग गया उसके अंदर ये भी रिस्क है सो हाउ डू यू कंट्रोल एस ऑपरेशंस एंड बी अ रिस्क फॉर यू राइट बट फॉर द अनऑर्गनाइज्ड उसके लिए रिस्क नहीं है वो चल रहा है सो दैट वे अ स्टार्टअप फाउंडर हैज टू मिटिगेट रिस्क्स एज दे गो ऑन बट दे स्टार्ट विद अ लॉट ऑफ रिस्क दैट इज ट्रू सो let's try to understand the key components that we have which define the startup. One is who is the person you're solving the problem for? Target audience. Then what problem are you solving for them, of course. Then how is your solution unique? And then finally, how will you sell it? और डिस्ट्रीब्यूटेड मैं साथ में दोनों टेक्निकली अलग चीज़ें हैं बट हाउ डू यू मेक श्योर पीपल नो योर प्रोडक्ट एग्जिस्ट्स हाउ डू यू मेक श्योर दैट इट रीचेस देयर हैंड्स फॉर एग्जांपल अ लॉट ऑफ दीस न्यू ब्रांड्स आर कमिंग अप B2C ब्रांड्स बोलते हैं जिन जो ई-कॉमर्स पे सेलिंग हेल्दी स्नैक्स विद से राइट देयर इज अ कंपनी योगा बार होगा शायद तो काफी पॉपुलर हो गई है योगा बार यूज्ड टू बी ऑनलाइन ओनली कंपनी वेयर दे यूज्ड टू सेल देयर पैक्स एंड वेरी सून Yoga Bar, Mama Earth, the popular ones, they realized that if we don't go offline, we will lose this game. We will not be able to scale. We will not be able to earn big margins. So they realized that their problem now became distribution. They said online तो मजा नहीं आएगा, high delivery charges से बढ़िया retail पे रखवा दो, उसमें margins बच जाएंगे मेरे इसकी. So they had a different kind of a problem. In the case of let's say there's a product that I am building, I'll take that example, where we are making a B2B SaaS product where we will help founders raise fund faster. How? By making much, like we will develop an AI bot. In fact, we're in the middle of releasing the MVP, where we will ask the founders a bunch of questions. It's a simple tool. हम बहुत सारे सवाल खींचेंगे उससे, उसको help करेंगे market research automate करेंगे कुछ एक sense में, and then we'll help them make a great pitch deck. Then we'll use the same tool for investors and say कि आपके पास दिन में 100 pitches आती है and you can process them much faster because हमारा generative AI ने आपके लिए critical thinking करके रखी है काफ़ी सारी report तैयार है अब report पढ़ के आप judgment ले लो if this startup is of your interest you want to conduct an interview call or not ठीक है अब ये product हम बता रहे हैं so in my case there are some assumptions that I'm making okay that's why I'm also making an MVP while I'm working towards it I have to have the humility that I may be wrong sorry Good question. So an MVP is a minimum viable product. It's like a prototype where it's not technically a prototype, but it's like a prototype where you make something which is good enough that someone will consider paying you for it. So इनके केस में MVP बहुत आसान है. और जो इतने पार्टी लेके और चार घरों में रट्टी हो जाएगी 30 लोग और साफ कर लीजिए आज. Right? But literally you can ask that question. You have to go through the journey set. Right? तो इनके केस में MVP बहुत आसान है. मेरे केस में थोड़ा डिफिकल्ट है. क्योंकि मैं सॉफ्टवेयर प्रोडक्ट बना रहा हूँ तो एक मिनिमम लेवल का बॉट बनाएंगे आई ऑलरेडी अब उससे मैंने किया कि अनलाइक किया अब अपन ने आइडिया तो लिया है लेकिन आई ऑल्सो नो द स्टेटिस्टिक्स फ्रॉम माई ऑल द बुक्स एंड ब्लॉग्स एंड यूट्यूब वीडियोज आई सीन की 90% ऑफ स्टार्टअप पे तो अपने पे ऐसा क्या स्पेशल है कि 10% पे निकल गया अपन right? ये तो बात पूछना चाहिए ईमानदारी से. So this question I asked and said, okay, what I can do is I can go through this set of things and ask myself some questions honestly. And if I can articulate them clearly, if I can express them with a lot of clarity, that shows I understand them well. Right? So as I'm talking to you guys right now, taking this example of my own startup, what I've tried to do is, I'm going to break it down. Let's say in this case, मैं ये वाला एग्जाम्पल ले लेता हूँ, मेरा भी क्लियर हो जाएगा थोड़ा सा, और तुम लोग को भी समझ आ जाएगा. तुम्हारे सामने लाइव टेस्टिंग चल रही है, ठीक है? तो मेरे केस में मैंने बोला तेरी नावी नोटिस, वी आर फर्स्ट डिफाइनिंग इट एज इन्वेस्टर्स, जस्ट वी सी venture capitalists.
It's white. We know.
And angels. So these are people. Yeah, I love teenagers. These are types of investors. Venture capitalists, as next year, these are the people who are the kinds of capitalists who invest money into ventures. The venture and capital words. Capital is money. Venture is business. So invest money in business. That's all it means. So they invest. ठीक है. मेरी टारगेट ऑप्शन में पहले इन्वेस्टर है. हम पहले फाउंडर्स को नहीं कर रहे हैं. Actually, I know that. बाद में फाउंडर्स को मिल गया. So I'm going to ignore that part. So now I'm going to see कि यार मैं क्लेम तो कर रहा हूँ कि आपके 50 pitches a day आते हैं. मेरी वजह से आपकी बहुत शानदार एफर्ट बच जाएगी, right? And you will be able to make decisions faster, better, and you will have more successful deals. अभी ये मेरी थ्योरी है. Have I spoken to anyone? Not yet. I have spoken to a lot of people before. Basis that मैंने करा है, निकाला है. लेकिन मैंने जब से आइडिया आया है, मैंने ज़्यादा लोगों से बात ही नहीं करी है एक्चुअली में. So I'm telling you right now that there is a step which I will do next. ठीक है? That step is usually last week से हमने development शुरू किया है, right? So we said okay, now my next step would be let's talk to investors and ask them तुम्हारा process दिखता कैसे है? Now think तुम्हारे लिए कहाँ कैसे apply होता है? Whatever idea you may have thought of, right? I will go and have casual conversations with them. Yeah, you know what? I'm thinking of solving some problems of yours, but before I tell you the solution, and this is very important for all of you guys, never tell your solution right and upfront, especially when you're talking to them, and until your product isn't ready. पहले तो problem के बारे में बात करो, and then come to solution at the end. So I would go ask them कि यार, usually how do you analyze your startups? What problems do you face? How many pitches do you get every day? How much time does it take to analyze one pitch at a time? Right? What if they said यार 5 मिनट को पता चल जाता है ये फिल्टर पे करके 5 मिनट बचा के तो मजा नहीं आएगा, ये प्रोडक्ट तो फुली फर्जी निकला. इट इज पॉसिबल आई अराइव एट दैट, एंड मे बी नेक्स्ट टाइम यहाँ पे कॉन्वर्सेशन करने आऊँगा कोई बोलूँ यार तुम्हें दिखाने वाले एक सेशन में बताया था ऐसा कोई प्रोडक्ट बना रहे वो तो फ्लॉप हो गया. पॉसिबल है, राइट? सो दिस इज इम्पॉर्टेंट फॉर मी टू गेट दैट कॉन्फिडेंस. लेकिन इसका एक बेनिफिट और ये होता है कि मे बी मुझे बात करते हुए समझ में आया कि जो प्रॉब्लम मैं हाइपोथेसाइज कर रहा था कि शायद कि ये प्रॉब्लम है, ये नहीं निकले कोई और प्रॉब्लम पकड़ डाला है. Because I at least interacted with them. I was curious with them. So the first thing you can do with your target audience is to be genuinely sincere with me. Don't go to them without. Please, some statements I would like you to write in your mobile or something. कुछ एक बीच में 4-5 ही लाइन्स बोलूंगा मैं जो वर्ड शीट है राइटिंग अलग से नोट. One of that is go to your target audience, potential customer, with sincere curiosity. No opinions, no solutions. If you want to start a startup, this is the most important, humble step you can do. ठीक है? यहाँ पे कुछ लोगों ने पिचेस दिए हैं तो मुझे पता है कि इन्वेस्टर सामने बैठे तो ग्रिल करते हैं, बट यू नो हाउ बिग इज द मार्केट, लाइक हाउ सीवियर इज द प्रॉब्लम. इट डजंट सीम लाइक मेरे को तो मिल जाता है इसका कार साफ करने वाला बोला और किसी ने तो, राइट? मेरे को भी कुछ लोग ऐसा बात जवाब देंगे कि यार मेरे पास टीम में है 2 लोग करते हैं यार, दैट उनकी सैलरी कितनी है, right? Okay, how many people do you have to do this for you? How much are you paying them? How many pitches do they analyze per week? सोचो तो मैं इससे एक मेट्रिक निकाल दूँ आगे करके कि डॉलर पर पिच कितना स्पेंड कर रहे हैं, डॉलर पर स्टार्टअप इसका पिच आ रहा है, ये नंबर निकालूंगा. फिर मैं इसको मल्टीप्लाई करूंगा नंबर ऑफ पिचेस एवरेज इन्वेस्टर्स दिए. सो लेट्स से दिस एग्जाम्पल ले रहा हूँ मैं, ये मैं तुम्हारे सामने नंबर्स लिख रहा हूँ. दिस एग्जाम्पल सेज कि जिस देयर इज अ इन्वेस्टर जिसको कॉस्ट आ रही है $50 per pitch and they're getting per week 100 pitches in 200 jobs. So $5,000 per week or $20,000 per month worth का वो एक्सपेंडिचर कर रहे हैं to analyze these many pitches. अब मैं को नंबर समझ में आ जाएगा तो I will say, you know what, there is a tool I have which will reduce your team's time by half. You know how much that's worth? I'm going to save you $10,000. How much am I going to charge? Just $1,000. How much I save you net? Right. Sounds like a good pitch. अभी मैंने on the fly नहीं है. ठीक है तो अगली एक तो बता देना मैं one extra होगा. So sounds fair enough. ऐसे में जो जाती कि आप प्रॉब्लम देखते कुछ hours. I opted the routine. सुबह उठ के तुम कौन सा न्यूज़ चैनल पढ़ देख रहे हो या कौन सा न्यूज़ लेटर पढ़ रहे हो वो बताओ. Then I asked them, why do you read that? They're like, मुझे ना मार्केट की इनसाइट्स वाले कौन सा स्टार्टअप लेट्स से कौन सा स्टार्टअप अभी कितना फंड रेज कर चुका है सिलिकॉन वैली में इंडिया में. फिर वो बट उससे आपको क्या फर्क पड़ता है क्योंकि इससे हमें ट्रेंड्स पता चलता है. व्हाट इज इट दैट अदर वीसीज आर बेटिंग ऑन, राइट? ऐसे कुछ फंडे होते हैं इन्वेस्टर्स के कि जो स्टॉक मार्केट में वैलिड है. यू वांट टू सी व्हाट ट्रेंड इज देयर इन द मार्केट विच साइड में दर से भी मैं इनसाइट्स निकालता हूँ कि यू नो व्हाट टेल मी योर बेस्ट सोर्सेज रेफर योर नॉलेज. व्हाट आई विल डू, आई विल गो स्क्रैप देयर. मैं उनकी वेबसाइट पे जाकर स्क्रैप करूंगा, उसकी इनसाइट्स को मर्ज करूंगा मैं अपने इस प्रोडक्ट के साथ. कहूंगा यू नो व्हाट पिक आई हैव द इंटेलिजेंस ऑफ ऑल द टॉप सोर्सेज ऑफ स्टार्टअप इंटेलिजेंस टू बी लो पब्लिश कर रहे हैं ब्लॉग्स में, न्यूज़लेटर्स में. आई हैव कंबाइंड दैट विद योर स्पेसिफिक पिचेस फ्रॉम एवरी इंडस्ट्री एंड नाउ आई हैव द हाईएस्ट वैल्यू प्रोडक्ट दैट यू कैन थिंक. वुड यू बाय दैट शिव? आई हैव गॉट माय फर्स्ट कस्टमर. So मेरा ये रहा explanation of starter and how to pitch. मुझे लग रहा साथ में जा रहा है pitch and how to pitch. So at any point of time, if you want to add in an investor perspective, I think I would actually appreciate that because I don't have any other target audience in here. So if you think that some of these assumptions are bad, I think you should tell me so that all of us get to see that interaction.
Sure. No, you're going great. I'm enjoying this.
Okay. So fair enough. Sounds good. तो हमने target audience identify कर ली थी पहले. उसकी problem को जानते थे हम actually. You already identified that problem, right? And उस problem की severity निकाल ली मैंने. That severity best है तो उसको time में या फिर money में measure कर. ठीक है, बाकी सब convenience वगैरह ना थोड़े से dicey होते हैं ना country like India. ठीक है, बहुत लोगों ने convenience sell करने की कोशिश करी है. तुम्हें भी सोचना चाहिए. Convenience is a very tricky thing, especially for you guys. India में convenience जहाँ डॉलर करेंसी चल रही है ना वहाँ convenience की बहुत वैल्यू. ठीक है, हमारे यहाँ पे थोड़ी क्योंकि हमारे लेबर सस्ता है. It is just because labor is cheap, that's why unorganized markets are able to thrive better. So that there are multiple factors, of course, but this is why I decided when I was choosing my startup idea, I was like, I'm going to make only something that gets me paid really well. And I said, किसके पास बहुत पैसा है? मजाक नहीं कर रहा, ऐसे ही सोचते हो किसके पास बहुत पैसा है उसी को बेचते हैं, इसके पास नहीं है उसको क्या करोगे बेच के, right? So that's why I said, you know, who has पैसा? Either the investors, they are by definition they have paisa, right? I understand. I have a lot of investor friends. I have raised funds myself. I know what they think like, and I know what problems they need solved pretty confidently. But should I be overconfident and say I know exactly every problem of theirs? I know exactly this is the solution they want. That is arrogance, right? But I know enough to know that I should pursue this path. So that's how I'm thinking to the early stage period. So ask these questions to yourself ki, what is it or who is it you empathize with very quickly. So solve for people, solve for yourself or solve for people like you. ताकि ना किसी और के दिमाग में ज़्यादा घुसने की कोशिश नहीं करनी पड़े. No amount of question answering will ever make you experience what they experience. Right? So this is an important thing. So remember, ये हमने लिखा curiosity के साथ go ahead with no solutions. Go ahead with an open mind, curiosity. Ask your target audience, potential target audience. तुम्हें कंफ्यूजन है इसको बेचो कि उसको बेचो. जैसे मुझे कंफ्यूजन हो सकता है डीसी को बेचो कि फाउंडर को बेचो. बट आई सेड यू नो व्हाट, फाउंडर से अभी नहीं, फाउंडर तो खुद ही पैसे ढूंढ रहा है. ठीक है, तो पहले इन्वेस्टर सॉल्व करवाते हैं. बट सेम थिंग विल बी एप्लीकेबल. मेक सेंस? देन आई विल से हाउ इज माय सॉल्यूशन यूनिक? हैज टू बी ग्रेट ऑफ कोर्स, otherwise there is no point. But how is it also unique so that you know over time nobody comes and says Google एक announcement करेगा, you know, we have a tool for investors which we are launching next week, and then people like me will be left nowhere. हमारे केस में होगा some like Zara will say we are also doing AI nowadays. उनके पास तो बहुत incentive है. They are fast fashion. They have all the incentive to make an app which lets people try out styles on a 2D screen, right? And they have the money, but do they have the DNA? That is usually where it comes. That a Zara will always be a Zara. They will never be a Tesla. only Elon Musk has the capacity to do a Tesla and a space shuttle and this and that and that. These are exceptions in every way possible. But that's why you shouldn't be threatened in that sense. But you should also know that there are a lot of people who can do that. Which means if you're making a technologically superior product, you need to be a master of that art in order to survive. This question I'm asking myself in that sense, as an example. Yeah, how is my solution going to be unique? So I say, you know what? There are two parts. One is I define what unique means after this exercise, of course. आज मुझे पता है shape and form उसका. It will look more like a chatbot. Chatbots are very quick to make, simple. So I will make a minimum viable product, which is a product which just works enough to give them value. But is it a great product yet? No. But does it solve the immediate problem decently well? Yes. That is MVP. And the measure of what is decently well is not a gut feeling, by the way. It's that moment where the person I go to, right, and I say, you know what, I'm going to launch this at $1,000 next month. But since you're one of the first early customers that, you know, you're trusting us, I will give you a discount and $300 free. Discount ले सकते हैं. And then if they say, yes, okay, sounds good, you know, $300 done. That means my customer really appreciates this product. ठीक है? So second चीज ले सकते हैं हम. An idea is not real until you get paid for it. Fair enough? Please लिख लो ये बहुत मतलब ये कुछ एक key pointers है लिख लोगे काम आएगी कभी. Idea is not real. It is all with your head. At best, it's a pretty illusion.
Just one thing I'll add here.
Yeah, sure.
Family and friends are not your customer.
Yes. Oh, very important. Please write it down. Family and friends are not your customer.
Even if they pay, they're not your customer.
Only someone who doesn't care about you is your real customer.
As long as he cares about the product.
Yeah. It's a very valuable ad actually. I would have missed that. So, ये चीज third चीज लिख लेते हैं. Friends and family don't count. You can go to them for research, ask them questions, but never go to them for sales. And never go to them for research, like, just उनके पास नहीं जाना है. Right? If you are extroverted, use that benefit to सड़क में लोगों को रोक के पूछना है. थोड़ा introverted हो तो online पूछ लेना. ठीक है? So वो सब options है. But try and have these conversations. Don't avoid it. Don't. So this is the common fallacy. Every founder has a tendency to love their own idea.
अगर बेच होता है ठीक है प्रेस से ट्राई चीज होती है क्या ठीक है if I'm for other product based at a big hash तो इन प्रेस से ट्राई चीज होती है कि they can do I can cut it
किस चीज का ट्रस्ट
like just suppose मैं किसी का नॉन बोल rather than that go with you and start yes
हाँ so I'm saying you sell to them and they will pay you but don't count that as your first sale करो ना मतलब that's fine but that doesn't count for you to be honest with your own standing ki is my startup proven? Not yet. Mummy ne it's like no mother calls their child early. Okay. Except my mother, she once called me early. So solution के लिए uniqueness वाली जो चीज़ है, it will arrive. It will only and only arrive through things. One is your unique insight into the problem. Solutions unique नहीं होते usually. आपकी insight about the exactly problem क्या है और किसकी है. Like within investors, there are multiple tiers. There are angels, there are VCs, then there are private equity. Broad बता रहा हूँ. There are others also, but angels, VCs, and private equity. Up maybe what I start doing is maybe I go to private equity people first. They are the highest ticket size. मतलब वो $5 million भी invest कर देते हैं, $10 million भी invest कर देते हैं, right? VCs usually invest in multi-million dollars. Angels usually invest in multi-$100,000. So ऐसे एक zero या दो zeros add होते जाते हैं. That's how it usually works. Now, it could be that this product is valuable only for angels because they deal with a lot of young startups. And it is useless for private equity because they deal with a lot of startups जिनका जो 10 साल से exist करते हैं. उनके पास बहुत सारा data है. उनकी decision making के criteria अलग होते हैं. So, if I don't talk to enough of the people in my target audience, I will never know will this work for them. उनकी अलग-अलग problems भी क्या नहीं पड़ेगी. So that is why I need to know, okay, and then I will stop saying कि investors के लिए fundraise का product है. I will say angels के लिए fundraise का startup है, or product है, right? So that is a differentiation of making a solution unique. Who you solve it for makes your solution unique. It's very interesting. Your solution is not agnostic of the user. Who you solve it for dictates what solution it is made. So this is the other thing of how you make a solution unique. You have the unique problem inside, and then you have some strength in creation or in product. You need to have some sort of strength in product. अब जैसे तुम लोग technology वाले ज़्यादा हो यहाँ पे AI वाले काफी लोग हैं, I assume, right? So then you will have a bias towards thinking of every solution with AI, by the way. Correct? ऐसा लगेगा ना यार तो AI से कर लेते यार मजा आ जाएगा 20 दिन के फिर इसको बना के फीलिंग आती है ना ऐसी. And we all fall in love with our ideas, and most college startups die college dreams. So this is an attempt so that you guys can figure out sooner if the idea was good, I must pursue it with full force. If the idea was bad, I must not be afraid of pulling back from it either, right? So that is the clarity that you get. So in my case, for example, I realized what were my strengths, right? I am not an expert in AI. I have becoming an expert of generative AI. AI में models बनाना is a very technical skill. I have made some बहुत साल पहले which doesn't count. So what my expertise in AI is to be able to understand where to use AI in its applications. I've made a product in AI before. I have the lens because of my product management experience, because of me hanging out with so many founders and investors in the last 10 years, that I know who they are and what they think like. And I go, okay, I know my target audience. I know mostly their problems, right? I know how to use AI in applications. You know what? Let me start this. Sounds good? Yes. I know. So I didn't start with this idea कि यार ऐसा कुछ बनाते fundraise easy हो जाए. Didn't start with that. I said, okay, whose problem can I solve best? This is a way of coming up with better ideas which are aligned with your strengths, right? So maybe you can write a note on this as well, right? The idea should come from your experience, not from your dreams. ठीक है? ऐसे अगर जो आइडिया चमका है ना यार ऐसा तो आता है ब्रो, तो probably not the right journey towards arriving at the idea. So you arrive at the idea. You don't start with the idea. Actually, you can write this down. You don't start with the idea. You arrive at the idea after this exercise, and that is true curiosity. नहीं तो फिर हम there is a thing called confirmation bias. हमें जो सुनना होता है वही सुन रहे होते हैं फिर राइट राइट और वो सबके साथ होता है, मेरे साथ भी होता है. मतलब मुझे भी पता है कि थोड़े स्टबर्न हम सब है कि थोड़ा वैसे नहीं इसलिए रिजेक्टेड क्या हो गया, अपने को पता है ऐसा होता है, काम तो आ ही जाएगा, कितना कूल है, एंड देन यू विल बी ग्रेट. सो वो सब चीज़ों में नहीं आएगी. साउंड गुड? एंड देन फाइनली कम्स सेलिंग एंड डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन. नाउ I make a lot of content. I'm giving my example right now intentionally because that is the simplest example to offer in this short time. But I said, you know what? मेरे को हर एक चीज़ में advantage चाहिए था. मैंने कहा if I'm starting something, right? I need an advantage in these things. तो by default दुनिया आपके against ही है. It's hard to conquer these things. It's not easy. It's hard to build a startup. Then the best you can do is make these choices early on, which at least give you a reasonably good launch pad. So I was looking for my own launch pad. And I said, you know, target audience समझते हैं. Solution का एक, and got an early idea of the solution. Instead of claiming what the final solution will look like, I know the first version of the solution what it will look like, and that first version is very important. And that was the MVP idea, right? And now I'm saying that बना भी लिया, बेचूंगा कैसे इसको? The fact that I knew some people, I have some customers here, but also that won't be sufficient. Nobody's personal networks are sufficient. So I said, how can I reach out to large audiences? And then I said, you know what? Content creation sounds good. I have no interest in becoming, going off and making YouTube videos or Instagram reels. That's not a passion. I don't enjoy it. Like ऐसा नहीं बोलता हूँ कि content creation is a passion. मजा ही आता है script लिखने में और recording जब editing वाले को input देने में तो मजा आता है. ऐसा नहीं होता है. That doesn't happen. You have a higher goal for which you say, okay, I think content creation will serve that purpose. Right? Sounds good. So for I think who was making these developer वाले videos. Sir. What's your name? Mansavi. So Mansavi was asking me this question. अभी थोड़ी देर पहले भी बात हुई थी. He said, मैं developer वाली journey पे हूँ and I want to make content around that. So if you have any ideas, give me. I have no idea. I'm not a content creator. I make videos, but I'm not a fan of, मतलब शरण नहीं बनना है मुझे. That's not the aim here. But I still want to make content. I enjoy it because the goal is clear. Content, and for those people who haven't realized, हम लोग content को नाते. Some people just want to be famous. Fair enough for them, good enough. But there are people who seek it for a certain goal other than being famous. One of those goals is to grow your business, to build, and not your personal brand. By that, personal brand has also higher. It's a great middle step. So I said, I said, I need a large audience to which I can sell a product eventually, right? And what is the way to get that audience and to earn the trust of that audience? How will people get to know me, and why should they trust me? Two questions. Right, so you can ask this. I will write this down again. This is very important for sales and distribution and marketing. सबके लिए ये question common है. So first question would be, how will people find me? ठीक है?
You people what I read videos of and then this AI.
So, first question was, how will people find me? If you don't have an answer to that, you are going to struggle a lot finding more than a handful of customers. You need to have a planned strategy of how will people discover me. How will they get to know about me? You can't buy stuff from someone you don't know. You can't pick up a product on the shelf which never was, right? So, in that sense, for how will people find me? And second, why should they trust me? Who the hell am I? 8 million people, they've got friends, family, they're close by, and padosi, and who am I sitting some 3 cities away to trust? So this is a question, why should they trust you? Right? So two big questions there. I think you can break down the idea of personal brand for seven different things. But abhi ab startup ki context mein baat kar rahe hain. So I asked these questions to myself, and I said, you know what? I need to solve for these two problems. They should have a genuine reason. So number one, how will they find me? I will make content. Content is the most efficient method for reaching out to large people at scale and passively. Right? On a Zoom call, you need to be present every time. But on a YouTube video, you can sleep and it gets a million views. Possible enough. But a Zoom call mein nahi ho sakta. So it's purely the mathematics of it which works in your favor. That's why I love content creation from that goal perspective. It's not, you don't love things just by the process of it. You also love things when they contribute significantly to your goal. Right? For some people who are artistically driven, they would enjoy making films and writing stories. They would enjoy writing the script. I'm not an artist. I need it to be alive. Right? So that distinction I want to make here. Then I said, why should they trust? Right? If I'm trying to eventually build a relationship with them, it has to be based on some sort of what is called a value exchange, or a value, you provide some value to people. Right now, if in this context, if I'm talking about AI or startups and I'm sharing something that I have learned with you, right? And if you think you have taken away something valuable for you, you will feel, next time I have a question about startup, maybe I can check with Nivedam, right? Simple. Not very complex, right? Because you have now built a certain degree of trust that for this thing, Nivedam might be trustable. But if you want to style yourself, unlikely to call me up. So trust is not a general trust. It is a directional trust. Okay? Trust is a vector. It's not a scalar. Does that make sense? It is directional. You may trust me for AI and startup related things, but for styling, you will not come to me. For cooking, definitely don't come to me. Right? So it's defined. So trust is that vector. Now the question is, what is your vector then? Right? You have to define that. What do people now? Why should they trust me? And then third question you can write, what should they trust me for? Right? So in my case, it is pretty standard and defined. They should trust me for when it comes to any fundamental ideas and clarity and products around AI and startups. मेरा वो persona मैंने खुद नहीं define कर लिया, किसी और को define करने की जरूरत नहीं पड़ी, खुद ही कर लिया, खुद से define करके यार I love these topics anyway, I can talk about them 100 hours straight without sleeping. So I said, then let's do it anyway. So that's why I left my job 3 years pehle. I said, if I'm going to do whatever I enjoy, this is what I enjoy. Truly enjoy. I said, जब मैं already मेरा vector defined है, तो मैं क्यों इधर-उधर और हट कर रहा हूँ? It became obvious, right? So you have to ask for yourself now as students for first year or in the next 3 to 4 years, what are you going to build as your vector? You don't start with a vector necessarily. किसी की strength होगी, you're a great listener, right? And if you're a great listener, and if you're, let's say, some humanities course or in AI, you might consider becoming a therapist. Simple as that. Just because you were a great listener. Not that because you knew everything about therapy. Because that you will learn over time. But some traits you exhibited. In my case, I enjoy learning things and sharing with people fundamentally. मैं 20 साल से कर रहा हूँ छोटा सा से कि I've always loved doing that. I said, you know what? Let's do that anyway. And I also love building products. मैंने कहा पढ़ाई और बेचेंगे भी फिर, right? So merge कर दिया इसको. I'm talking about this so that you guys, when you're thinking of your startup ideas, try your best to align it with maximum aspects of your personality. Try and align it with that. You know, fight cut out of still. I told you I was a business and marketing manager at Meesho. I did not enjoy the business part as much as the marketing part. Reason being, business wale mein, like I did well, but I was working literally 20 hours a day. 20. I was sleeping 3.5 hours for 6 months straight. And I was burnt out because I realized that this is the kind of job which is not meant for someone like me. Even though I'm stretching myself harder, working harder than other people, just to compensate for lack of something. And that lack, for example, I'm telling you some weaknesses also, which helped me come at that. I'm not an operational guy. मुझे तो हर घंटे फोन करोगे ना, मैं वो ना ऑपरेट I'm intentionally putting it that crass. मुझे हर घंटे फोन आएगा ना, तो मेरा डिस्ट्रैक्ट पूरा फोकस चला जाएगा. And my team would tell me कि every morning I come to office late. I arrive at usually 2 to 3 के बीच में. Now, as a manager, as a boss, that sounds terrible, right? But I'm clear. अगर मैं आ गया ना उससे पहले, अब जाऊँगा सुबह में 6 बजे उठ जाता हूँ, 7 बजे उठ जाता हूँ, but I'm still coming at 3. It's because I've defined for myself, I need solo thinking time. If I'm doing that, then I'm going to not compromise with it. अब उसके बाद freedom, if he wants to come late soon, that isn't fine. That is okay with me. So I'm flexible with them also. Why I'm saying this? Notice what your tendencies are and see how you align that in your startup, whether in terms of interest, whether in terms of personality, whether in terms of your immediate surroundings, right? You're from JECRC. It's the best college in Jaipur. I think I'm convinced by तुम्हारा. I've become a fan of JECRC recently. आप लोग JECRC team से है क्या? मतलब I wanted to say this कि ऐसा है. So I think you guys are very very active. तुम्हें इतना अच्छे कॉलेज में आके यहाँ पे if you're not using this opportunity, वे तो वैसे ही गिरता जानी चाहिए, right? So more importantly, these questions that I come back to that, which is what should people trust you for, is a question of introspection. You have to find that out. फिर लास्ट में पूछना, oh मेरी डिपार्टमेंट तो AI और PS है. This is a question to be considered much later. It's a skill. You can learn it. You can learn 7 other skills also. You're only in the first standard. I was at civil engineering. I realized मेरे साथ तो नहीं हो पाएगा ये. So second year onwards, I completely changed my stream. Business and technology. 3 साल तक I dropped my civil engineering courses as much as I could. Flunk तो नहीं, मतलब dropped, skipped my classes, not flunk. Skipped my classes. My grades also improved because I knew अभी तो grade लाना है फिर, ठीक है? अब तो grade लाना है, अभी civil engineering तो करना नहीं है. कोई और पूछेगा उनसे तो at least पढ़ाई तो अच्छी दिखनी चाहिए. So thankfully I was at IIT Bombay. That helps. That helps when you're not scoring so high and still doing decently well. So these questions, I could write this down regardless, that we can take up for that separately. Any questions again? First one was, how will people? तो जिनके भी ideas है ना, ये questions पूछे बिना आगे जा रहे हो ना, बड़ा tricky है. One IJC questions. ठीक है. What should they trust you? What's your trusting? Okay. Okay. So with this, I wanted to figure out limited time. I want to conclude this segment of our conversation. Now, if you have any questions, I can answer them. So Suryaj, so we can take Q&A right now, and I just have a small thing to share, but we can start the Q&A otherwise. We can take. I'll at the end of this, I will share a very interesting वो बताया तुमने promise किया था. AI का prompt framework है, वो बहुत मजेदार IT चीज़ है. तो that I'll share as a gift. आजकल मैं ऐसे कंटेंट भी शुरू करती हूँ कमेंट टू गेट मैं लाइक्स चीज़ें कभी कभार कर लेता हूँ बट तुम्हारे साथ भी करने का मन है मेरा सो ठीक है बताओ यार एनी क्वेश्चंस नाउ यू कैन आस्क यस प्लीज
As you said, he's a prototype को पहले बनाना है, उसके बाद हम लोग pitch करना है, किसी भी investor.
आइडियली यस
But if I don't have money and I have a problem and I have a solution, but I don't have money to make it.
Do you have creativity? Yes. Does that cost? So most products that we want to build, most, I'm not saying all, they require less money and more creativity than you think. So and that's why I was intentionally taking their example because उनका service aggregation business है. इनके case में product is straightforward. There's no product, it's service. It's a service business. You're scaling services. So इनके case में MVP क्या है? We will experience that entire journey, make processes around it, put that on an app, and scale it up.
Just इस मान लो that से लेके है ना, तो उसमें जो solving चीज़ hire करनी पड़ेगी अच्छी, है ना, वो मेरे पास नहीं करनी पड़ेगी.
So मैं भी जो बता रहा हूँ ये जो स्टार्टअप का मैं भी बता रहा हूँ साउंड लाइक फंडरेज कराएंगे कुछ तो ऐसा एनालाइज करके देंगे कुछ नहीं कर रहा मैं चैटबॉट बना रहा हूँ मेरा भी चैटबॉट दिखता है इट इज टेकिंग मी 1 week to make it ठीक है बट eventual software will it have require some software developers of course yes but I'm making a good enough product so you have to be able to break down your large vision into a small product and let's say what is the minimum thing so इनके केस में they should start with taking orders on WhatsApp first Example. WhatsApp is the perfect place for MVP. मैनुअली करो सब चीजें कुछ टाइम तक क्योंकि सेल मैटर करता है तुम्हारी टेक्नोलॉजी नहीं वी आर ऑल अटैच्ड टू अ टेक्नोलॉजीज प्लीज लेट मी ब्रेक इट टू यू nobody gives two shits about it nobody gives two shits about technology except the people who make technology and I have also been on the side of both on the other side of this हम सबको नॉन टेक्नोलॉजी को अगर हमें फायदा चाहिए हमें टेक्नोलॉजी जानने में इंटरेस्ट नहीं So this is to break your attachment to the idea that as engineers, we must make technology. Like, of course, you must make technology, but don't forget, your goal is not to make technology. Your goal is not to make products. Your goal is to solve problems. If this problem can be solved 90%, 80%, 70% efficiently through non-technological means, have the humility to say, you know what, now I don't know your product, but ask this question to yourself: that if you couldn't hire any software engineer. But you still wanted to solve the problem sincerely, what could you think of it that way, right? Maybe there are other cost reasons, eliminate them all. What if there goes a way? Only I have to figure it out. This question I push to myself, by the way, a lot, right? And I use this question saying, yeah, okay, I don't know how to do this today, but there has to be a way. Only I haven't found it yet. That pushes you to be creative. It pushes you to be determinate. So, you know, there are some friends who saw this and said, you know what, help me with my business. And I'm like, I don't offer consulting services. They're like, no, but there are type चाहिए. So I'm like, okay, interesting. People are wanting to pay me for something I never tried to sell, right? It's simply because I will push them on their business so much that breakthroughs will come. I'm suggesting this to you because I think it's a limiting belief that पैसा चाहिए होता है. पैसा चाहिए होता है business बनाने के लिए, yes. पैसा चाहिए होता है MVP बनाने के लिए, not so much. Enough?
Next, जैसे examples से popular toys are sort of so Fortune जब start हुआ था उसमें as a oily क्या मैं खेल रहा हूँ government ने उसमें tax की 15% पे करना पड़ेगा उन्होंने पता रखा अगर इसे नहीं वीडियो बनाते 10% tax बाद में ऐसे taxation की जो schemes या इस तरीके होते हैं जैसे मैंने कुकी सोचा तो मैं टैक्स से कैसे पढ़ेंगे टैक्स हम जैसे हम बीटेक स्टूडेंट आ रहे हैं
तो मैं क्या करना है also I was talking about this अभी अंदर बैठ के I am absolute ignorant about finance. It is a blind spot for me, but I usually make up for it by always consulting someone right. You have to be aware of that blind spot. Like I've been in the early stage setups enough where I have no product, tech, design, everything, but finance नहीं आता. तुमने मेरे से वही सवाल पूछा पहली बात तो ठीक है तो मेरे पास जवाब नहीं है इस चीज़ का कि टैक्स में कैसे करवाता है. What I can tell you is क्यों बन रहा है तुम्हें टैक्स एक्सपर्ट. I think it is an outsourceable problem where you find the reliable CA or that tax expert जो भी समझता है consumer goods के related उससे जाके brainstorm करो ना जाके But that's it. We don't need to be experts in everything. What else? Good. That's तो एक काम करते हैं. मैं पता बता रहा हूँ सामने ईमानदारी से कि मेरा तो इंटेंशन है कि है ना यहाँ पे सब एक लिंक्डइन पोस्ट के नीचे कमेंट करेंगे तो मैं मस्त फ्रेमवर्क भेजूंगा. ठीक है. मैं करना चाहिए ना. बिल्कुल करना चाहिए. क्यों नहीं करे. अच्छा होता तो ठीक हो. बिल्कुल एग्जैक्टली. और मुझे JIC ने पैसे भी नहीं दिए तो मैं तो no. But no, thank you so much. This is brilliant and इतना सारा interested crowd है यार. I love it when I see a lot of enthusiasts on startups and technology. So thank you so much.
In this session, interesting session by Nitin Sanarik for topics. We already and he was ready for that. Thank you for the session. I think you have learned more about how you grow these steps. Perfect roadmap to that. So we'll be concluding that. I will be first the JIC team to just honor to.
Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you. Really nice gift. So much.
So, the quarterly magazine and the boy.
Okay. Okay.
You are one for IT.
Starting.
अरे बस. Sorry, keep this bus.
Yeah, sure. Next session, registering between that. So next is our panel discussion on the dilemma for the these startups for to take path of taking funds or just bootstrapping, right? Yeah, I guess. Let's start.